to the Down Low with Mike Durezzo and Joel Lowe. My name is Mike Durezzo. Joel, you want to introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, I'm Joel Lowe. Been in cybersecurity for over 15 years, and I'm excited to be here with you. Mike, go ahead and tell them about yourself.
Yeah. So it's sad. I realized February 12th marked the 20-year mark, 2023-year mark.
Wow.
I really need to come clean. It's more than 15 years.
Wow. Congrats.
February 12th. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So 20 plus years in IT, in IT security, information security. Joel and I publish these things out here because we answer questions. You know, he and I jive on, and we kind of come up with ideas. You're like, hey, we should probably talk about this. That sounds like somebody asked me a question once and everything else. This week's topic, Joel, you want to introduce this week's topic, or you want me to?
No, go ahead. You're doing a great job.
So thanks, Joel. I'm glad you paid me for this. Hey. Joel came up with an idea about finding a new job and getting hired in the pandemic. So we've probably been here about 2 years since you've seen this video. I know my last foray into the office was first week of March of 2020. Not sure about everybody else's, and my last trip was the first week of March in 2020. So things have changed.
Yep.
And even though the pandemic is still going on, even after the pandemic, things may change permanently.
Right.
And we're kind of talking about the remote work and things like that. So, we were just riffing and talking and said, well, why don't we just do that about that? So, what did the pandemic do to the hiring space was the first question. So, Joel, I'll toss it over to you. What are your thoughts on this? How have things changed?
So I think the pandemic flattened everything, right? So it no longer do you have to worry about or look for a job within a geographical location to the headquarters, right? Or to the office itself. Now you can apply for a job and be living somewhere else and still work for that company, especially with cloud IT and security positions, right? And it made companies understand that their workforce can still be productive and not be in the office, right?
Right.
So it changed the model of the thinking, and there was a lot of people who wanted to work remote, and you saw that with more of tech companies and out of box thinking companies where they were moving to remote work and things of that nature. But then those companies that were old mentality kind of thinking, like stuck in their ways, like, no, we're not going to do it because it's the way we've always done it, now are looking at the margins and saying, okay, we didn't have people come in, but we still were able to make money. And now, so I can live with a hybrid of this, or maybe even a full time of this. And also too, now it changes the way that I hire, right? So now not only do I can look for the best talent within the area that we live in, but I can look for the best talent, period.
Anywhere.
Right? Anywhere.
Yeah.
As long as they got an internet connection in an airport, I can work with them, right?
Yeah.
And you stated it only have to be a good airport or a big airport, right? As long as it can make a connection, right? So I think that's what it did for the work environment and the worker. What do you think?
Well, we talked a little bit, and I thought the skill set changed, right?
Okay.
So, prior to that, we talked about, hey, I want to go to the cloud, I want to do things. Now it's, oh no, we're really only focusing on the cloud, or how we can push our applications to the edge securely. So, all of my peers, it's all talking about, securing your vendor, right? So vendor supply chain management, risk management, controlling your apps, making sure that you're not getting shadow IT based on SaaS applications and IaaS and PaaS infrastructure. And how do we get things more improved to the edge? So I need people to support that, right? I need people who have experience and have understand the process and know how to talk to other parts of the company to say, hey, you want to do this? Can we move that to the cloud securely? What do I need to move that to the cloud securely? Well, we're not going to put a tier one architecture, which is basically just one machine, and put that on the DMZ, like right on the internet. We need to put some layers in there. So how do I spread that out, right? So I think that that's kind of changed things a little bit. What I'm looking for and everything else. I know since I've gotten back into, the other side of the table, working for a company as opposed to being a consultant, I have a ton more projects.
Right.
We're able to do a lot more. We're starting to send more, to different processes and things like that. People are really spending more time working. I feel like output has increased for some people, right? For most people, I
Right.
should say, because we just do more, right? We're focused more. There's less distractions. I'm not, man, it took me longer to get into work today. I had an hour getting in as opposed to 30 minutes getting in. Now I'm just frustrated and everything else. Now I just, hop in the shower, go downstairs, fire up my laptop, and I'm there for the next 8-10 hours,
Right.
just cranking out, grinding out everything. So I feel like in some ways output for some people has gone up. Skills have certainly changed, and we're learning newer things to accommodate that.
And we talked about stress too, right? So also
Yeah,
understanding that your stress level goes up because you're working more, right?
right.
So being able to take time for yourself to kind of break up your day, right, is important because you don't have those interruptions that you would have in the office where you have your water
Right.
cooler talk or your meetings in between the meetings that are non-work related, but as you transition to your next meeting, you're kind of talking and catch up on either the game or what's going on or whatnot. You don't have that
Yeah,
anymore because you're at home, right? So
yeah,
even your lunch, right? You go downstairs, you grab your lunch, you
right,
bring it back up, and you're in front of the computer, right? So it's no
right.
longer where you would travel somewhere to go eat, kind of decompress, get your mind off of things, then come back to the office. You're
Yeah,
literally in front of your computer for 8 to 9 hours, depending on what you have going on. So to break up that screen time, right? Take a
right,
break, go take a walk.
right.
Right? I try to put those in periodically throughout the day because I realized that I was working a lot, right?
Hmm.
So breaking that up made kind of gave me more energy throughout the day because I needed to take time to say, hey, just rest for a second, right? Go
Yeah,
go get your mind on something else, right? And
yeah,
then come back to what you're doing versus just keep pushing out stuff because next thing you know, you are pushing out more product, more time, more energy, but it's stressful, right?
yeah,
It has a toll on you after a while.
yeah. Well, no, and I need to live more like that. I certainly don't do that. And as a worker, and mid range and in the hierarchy things, the more output I create, the more output other people downstream need to keep up with, right? So I'm doing more strategizing and building out and architecting. I'm handing more work off to other people, and it's like,
Right,
well, this is new. Why is there more work?
right, right,
So, in all fairness, I need to be careful of that as I'm creating more work for other people, and not in a good way, not necessarily in a bad way, but it needs to be, you know,
it's a healthy balance.
balanced.
It's a healthy
It's a
balance.
healthy balance.
Right,
Yeah, yeah. So you need to get outside. You need to get out. I mean, luckily I have dogs, so my dogs help me get up and
right,
get out,
right.
move around and everything else. They do make wonderful interruptions during meetings, but it comes with it comes with
Double
the territory.
territory. Right,
Yeah. So and then we talked about finding that new role, right? So the Great Resignation, it's not just a buzzword. Everybody talks about it. And I've known several people that have just said, you know what, this job isn't for me anymore. I'm
right,
done. Maybe that's because they've worked 10, 12 hours sitting in front of the little screen so they can go watch the big screen while they play with the tiny screen.
right,
But I think we're all there. So you know what are we doing now, right? And I found myself in the workforce, or looking for a job in the last year. I know that it's changed, right? And we talked a little bit about this as well. It's, what do you really want? What do you need?
right.
What do you really want? How you get it is different, and things like that. So let's take a few minutes and talk about that. um so pet peeves, we
So,
talked about this. Upload your resume and then fill out this 400 question questionnaire. You're like, why
it's
did I
all on the
fill
resume.
in my
What are we
resume?
doing?
I just
Uh,
built my resume online for you. I
I
could have just copied and pasted. Yeah, that's
I
annoying.
did I
Um,
dislike that so much. Oh,
What if I didn't upload my resume?
right. What was the purpose of the resume? Like, oh, I
Was
didn't
that a
like
true
that.
question? Like,
So,
watch this guy upload his.
right.
Oh, he uploaded his resume. What an idiot.
Hey, we're not
Yeah,
gonna hire him.
I am. Yeah, yeah. This
We're not
guy
gonna
doesn't know
hire
how to manage time and priorities. Yeah.
him.
So, do you want to work from home remotely
Right.
all the time? Right. So, it's I do. I'm a social butterfly. I like being in the office. I like being surrounded by people.
Right.
My trade-off is that I travel. I come into the headquarters every once in a while. And I'm in a hotel right now. This will be published by the time I'm home. But it's that's my trade-off,
Right.
right? I do this. I also have a rental workspace where my boss lives 10 minutes from me, even though we both work for a company several states away. He lives 10 minutes from me. We meet once or twice a month for 4 hours at a rental space called Gather in Midlothian. And we just talk things out, right? Sometimes you just need that playoff, that
Right.
understanding, that strategy building. Like, hey, what are you working on? Well, it's more than just a one-on-one. It really is kind of like, instead of stopping by his or her office 20-30 minutes every day or something to check in, or vice versa, it's condensing it into a 3-4 hour kind of workout session. And sometimes it just affords him a break too, right? So he's
Right.
not on meetings 8 hours a day. He gets to sit in.
So the cool thing about that is knowing what you need to be successful, right?
Right.
That's what I took from that, right? You know
Right.
that every now and then I need to have some personal interaction. So what we do
Right.
is we set time aside, so 4 hours in a week or 4 hours whenever, so that we can kind of interact with one another and make sure we're on the same page. That's important. But you have to advocate for yourself and let people know what you need, right? So that you
Right.
can be successful. Because there's no company out here that does not want you to be successful, right? When you're
Right.
successful, the company's successful, right? We want
Right.
you to be happy and productive, right? So if you know what it is that you need, if you convey it with your management, a good manager will make sure they get that done for you if it's in their power, right?
Right.
Because I'm the same way, right? I'm a people person. I like meeting with people. So being able to flex a job where I travel or I meet every now and then works well for me. But I also like working from home. I've
Yeah.
in these last 2 years, I've really liked it. It's
Yeah.
adjusted. I kind of have my space now. My day to day on how I do things, I've gotten better with this. But I also know that I have to advocate for myself for what I need, right? If
Right.
it's equipment or if it's a certain type of monitor or whatever it is that I need to be productive, I advocate for it at my house just like I would if I was in the company, right?
Yeah.
To make sure I have everything I need to be successful, right? Because again, if you're successful, the company's successful.
Right. Well, and to your point, if you're happy, you stay.
Correct.
Right. You don't. If you're happy, you're going to put it in. You're going to stay. You're going to look past the bad days. Like every day can't be perfect, right?
Right.
There are days I have, and I'm like, man, it is just Monday through the third day in a row. It's 3 days to Monday just this week, and that's just the way it is. It can't all be
Right.
great, but I like doing what I do. I like the mission that my company serves and everything else. And to be honest, like, economically, keeping an employee is so much cheaper than going
Yeah.
out and finding the next new rock star,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to keep burning out the Mike Dretzes and Joelos of the world only to go and find them. Number one, you'll get a reputation, right? Glassdoor exists. Glassdoor.com exists
For a
for a
reason.
reason, right?
Right.
And two, like, just economically, it just makes more sense keeping
Correct.
those people happy, and going from there.
I mean,
So,
you ever thought
we
about how
talked.
much time? You ever think about how much time as a manager you spend with trying to replace somebody when you lose them?
Oh yeah,
It is crazy the amount of
yeah,
time and energy that you now have to add to your day to day because none of your work falls off your plate. If anything, more work falls
right,
on, right?
right,
And it's the
right,
interview, it's the job rec, it's the parsing through resumes, it's the
yeah,
HR, it's the panels, it's a nightmare, is what it is, right? So if you can
yeah,
keep good talent, keep it, right?
yeah.
Work hard,
Figure out a way to
keep
keep good
right,
talent.
right? Because now that's that time I
Yeah,
don't have to spend on that. I can focus more on the mission and what we need to get done, right?
yeah,
Versus now I am like, and I feel like sometimes that's why managers miss out right? Because they're so focused on like, I'm trying to get this, like I just need to hire somebody, right? And you miss
Yeah.
the talent you need because you're trying to juggle too many balls. And you're like, if I just go ahead and get this filled, I don't have to worry about this anymore. And then what happens, you hire a nightmare, right? And
Right.
now your work is increased even more because now you're dealing with somebody that you now have to spend a lot more time with to get them motivated, to make sure they're on top of what they need to do, or even just from the
Yeah.
standpoint when you hire somebody, you have to train them, right? I gotta train them.
Yeah. And we both, as hiring managers, we both know the best someone's going to look is the day you interview them, right?
Right.
Right. No one interviews and says, what do you want out of this job? They're like, I have a paycheck and I really don't want to do anything. Like nobody says it. Like whatever it takes. I'm your guy. I'm your gal. And you're like, man, this person sounds awesome. You're like, right. They sound awesome because they want you to hear that they're awesome, not that they actually are awesome potentially. But vice versa as well, right? The best a company will always seem is when they're trying to hire, like, oh, you have ping pong tables? Yeah, we play ping pong.
You'll never
you haven't
see
played ping pong in 3 years.
There's cobwebs on the ping pong.
Look at the inch of dust on this thing. Yeah.
We're never gonna have time. Right.
You're never gonna have time.
Never gonna have time.
We have happy hour on Thursdays. You're like, why? No one has time for that. No one wants to be here for happy hours. So, but that comes back to what do you want? What do you need? What are your expectations? Right. What are you going to be successful at? Another pet peeve of mine is I get recruiters who are like, hey, bud, I know you have a full-time job. I have this job here. It's in Arizona. It's in Arizona State. I know you live in Richmond, Virginia. It is on site. It is for only 3 months, but there is a potential for an extension. You're like,
I'm always like, why did you call me? What are you talking about?
It's for a junior analyst. You said in the first line you saw my profile on LinkedIn. What is this a joke?
I love it.
Anyway,
I love it. Hey, those are always the best ones.
One of my employees and I, we always we trade those back and forth.
Yeah,
you're like, hey, this is today's fun job offer of the day. And recruiters, if you're out there, it doesn't mean that I don't want to listen to them, but please, like, if you're looking for me to find somebody for you, that's one thing. If you're looking for me to take that 3-month job in Tempe, Arizona, making $150,000 less than what I'm making a day, you're gonna get deleted. Like I stopped replying to these. I just delete them now. I'm like, I'm not even bothering. You're probably a phishing campaign for all I know.
Trying to get me.
So space to call your own. That was something you and I talked about. Need a place to focus. You talked about needing the ability to disconnect, right? Your place of work can't be your couch, can't be your kitchen, can't be your dinner table, can't be your kid's playpen.
You need something set aside for you to be productive. That's your own. So when you go in there, your body and everything knows that I'm here to work, right? If you're sitting on your couch or on your bed, your bed is where you go to sleep, right? Your couch is where you relax. That's not where you work. So your body and your mind is not going to be trained to understand that. And I get that people can work in different spots and different places, but you should definitely have a dedicated spot for you where you go into work. On a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying that you always have to be there. I move around. I'm outside sometimes when I'm working. But for the most part, when I need to like really hit it, I'm in my office, right? Focused on what I need to get done. I also know what you want, right? Like know what your takeaways are when it comes to a job, right? So that when the opportunity presents itself, right? So me and you both get a lot of people who always call us about new opportunities, right? As we were joking about. But I have a list, right, of what it is that I'm looking for within a company. I interview companies as they interview me. In fact, I probably interview them harder than they interview me, right? Because you're now talking about somewhere I'm going to spend all my time, and now my family is semi-dependent upon me being successful at this company. And I need to make sure that when I get there, I'm going to get all the things necessary for me to be successful, right?
This is long term, right?
Correct. So it's not a smoke screen. This isn't, hey, things change. So I ask a ton of questions, but I also have a ton of demands of what it is
Right.
that I'm looking for, right? If it's the work culture, if it's the pay, the benefits, the opportunity, whatever it is, one of my big things is like training. I always ask about training because you always find a lot about a company when it comes to
Yeah.
training. Because the first thing
That's
they
a good
always
point.
cut is training,
Yeah.
right? So I don't ask the question of, hey, what is your thoughts on sending people to training? I say, what
Right.
is the last training you sent people in your team to, right?
Right.
And I'm waiting for them to list it out because, and then when was it? So,
Right.
3 years ago, I sent them the Black Hat. Huh? Why only 3 years ago? What happened the last couple of years? Oh, well,
Right.
budget things, and we had issues, so we weren't allowed to do training.
Well, and the pandemic took care of it. I mean, you can pay to go to digital conferences. I've certainly done that.
Right.
You don't get out as much.
At all.
But yeah,
But my
you get
thing
a
is
lot
to
of white
ask,
papers you're never going to read.
right, get a ton of those. But to be able to ask questions that will spark answers for you that are kind of unknown, right? Where
Yeah.
they may not even know they're answering in a way, but it gives you a wealth of knowledge to be able to make a good decision for where you want to be.
No, that's a good question, Joel. It's and it's an important question. You're asking that next. You're not just stopping at, do you provide training? Do you pay for your employees? Like, you're asking that next question, like, when was the last time you invested in your
Right.
employees? If a company is not going to invest in its employees, you're a limited resource, right? Like, well, we're just going to use you until you're this. If they're not investing in you, they're not improving themselves. This is a vicious cycle that they're fulfilling. So,
Right.
all right, let's do takeaways. I know we're going to cover some more things in the takeaways there. I'll kick it off. It's important that you sit down in front of a piece of paper and really write out, what do you want?
Right.
What makes you happy? Where do you want to go? Right?
Right.
Do you want to be a manager, director, vice president, CISO, senior vice president, whatever? Do you want that? Where do you want that? Right? Because you can be a CISO of a 200-person company. Owning security is important, but owning it for a 200-person company is different than a 1,000-person company, than a 10,000-person company, a 25,000-person company. Being a director at a 25,000-person or a 96,000-person company is probably, you're going to get a lot more experience than being a CISO of a 200-person company.
Correct.
It's going to be different. Not one's not better than the other, but it's going to be different. But what do you want, right? Do you want to own it? And if you own it, you might be the only person who owns it. There's not going to be anybody pushing it with you. I actually had somebody ask me when I was interviewing for a CISO role, they're like, are you a leather chair executive? And I said, what does that mean?
Right.
And they said, are you gonna create strategy and expect other people to execute? I'm like, no, that's why I left GE, because I wasn't doing anything. I just made decisions, and somebody else had the cool, fun thing of actually carrying out the strategy. Like, I don't want that. I want to be involved, and they're like, good, because this is a 200-person company. We need the CISO to be involved and execute. I'm like, that sounds awesome. But know what you want. What's another takeaway you want to throw out there, Mr. Lowell?
I mean, so with everything being flat, what sets you apart? Right. So as you're going into this market, right, to start looking for jobs, and now you're looking for jobs beyond just your geographical location, what makes you shiny? What makes them say, ooh,
Right.
okay, I need to talk with them, right? So have you updated your resume? Have you updated your LinkedIn? Are you reaching out to your network, right? Networking is everything. And then in this day and age, because of the pandemic and us not being able to get face to face like we used to, networking has taken on a different shape, a different form.
Right.
Now it really is the relationship that you had before, and hopefully you made good relationships that you can build upon, right? To then say, hey guys, I'm in the market. Have you heard anything? Right? Hey, I'm looking at a new opportunity. What do y'all think? Right? And have people come back to you and say, hey, I did hear something, Joel. Let me put you in for this, or let me talk with this person and have y'all link up with one another. But again, what sets you apart? Right. So really think about that.
No, that's good. And you talked a little bit about what do you need, right? What is the opportunity? What is the pay? What are the benefits?
Right.
Is that going to help you? Is it going to help your family? Is this what you need? Sometimes, you might sacrifice a little bit of money because the opportunity is there, right? I know I looked at an opportunity, and it was like, it was less pay than I was making now. They were going to give me stock in the company. It was a startup, and it would have been a startup opportunity, which I don't really, I've helped startups, but I've never actually worked for a startup directly. So it's like, yeah, this sounds pretty cool, but it wasn't the right opportunity for me. You mentioned recruiters. This is probably one takeaway I'd like to talk about. Be upfront. I think you and I talked about this. When you speak with a recruiter, be upfront. I did this a number of years ago, and I helped out in a completely different industry a long lifetime ago. But this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what I'm capable of. It is an incredible day to be a recruiter for staffing, full-time contract to hire. Right now, it is insanity. So you had mentioned about standing out. I help recruiters mostly because I feel for them. That's a tough job. Cold calling was probably the worst thing I've ever done.
Right.
My entire cold calling companies, that in a day and age when people weren't hiring, was just a nightmare, but it needed to be done. So I have a soft spot for these people. And so I talked to them. I'm like, it sounds like a great opportunity. It's not the right one for me. I make more than that. That's not what I'm looking for, yada, yada, yada. I might know somebody who that might fit for. I mean, Joel, I found this opportunity. You might want to talk to this recruiter. Here's their information. Are you interested? I forward you the job description. Help other people, pay it forward, right? And when you need that, we talked about Dharma. When you need it from the universe, it might be there for you when you need it the most. And then, recruiters talk to 20, 30 people a week or more.
Right.
And that's legitimate. Usually it's 5, 10 people a week for the job that you're looking on. Now it's 20, 30, 40, 50 people a week. You have to stand out, right? You're going to get ghosted.
Right.
The best recruiter is going to ghost you. How badly do you want that job?
Right.
If you want it that badly, reach out to that recruiter, right? Hey, just following up with you, seeing how these things are going. Did you need any information? Do you need any help with anything? Or, how's it going? Stand out, be pleasant, be nice, be helpful, right? Don't be a jerk.
Right.
Don't give anybody a bad taste in their mouth. And they're like, yeah, it's not that I don't care. It's just I don't care as deeply for you anymore. And they move on to another candidate. Just be good.
Well, my thing is also with these recruiters, be honest, right? They appreciate you being honest. Hey, this job is not going to work for me. I appreciate it. If I think of somebody, I'll let you know, but this is not the one. But keep me in mind if anything else comes up, right? That has worked for me many times. I mean, I have recruiters that have never placed me anywhere, but we still keep in contact. Just because I was just very upfront and personable. Like, hey, I understand you got a lot going on. I think it's a great opportunity. I looked over the rec you sent me. It's just not going to fit for me. And here's the reasons why, right? But I appreciate it, right? And it helps them move on versus leading them on because time is money for them, right? They are talking to 20 to 30 people and they need to move. And to your point, if it is something that you like, then go after it, right? You got to fight for what you want, right? Because how do they know? Right? I sent over my stuff. I answered their question. Now I'm going to sit back and wait. Well, if 20 people sent over their stuff and they're sitting back and wait, what makes you the shiny object again? Because the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So you call and email and they're like, wow, I mean, let me answer this because he's emailed me, text me, and called me, right? Let me figure out what's going on. Hey, Joel.
And he was helpful.
And
he or she was helpful, right?
And
at the end of the day, they don't work for you, right? I mean, and I don't mean that to be mean or anything, but they don't work for you. They work for their client, who is the company trying to look for you. So be nice. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, well, these recruiters keep ghosting me, and they're like, did you follow up with them? And at the end of the day, you may not be the right candidate, right? Like, you may want that job, but you may not be the right candidate. That's a hard truth to swallow, right? Because I've seen a bunch of jobs. I'm like, I really want that job, and they
Yeah.
don't call me back. And I see who gets it, and you're like, yeah, maybe that person was a better fit than me.
Or it's
Be
the
honest with
opposite, where you're
yourself.
like, how did they pick them over? Like, what were they thinking?
Well, then you just get to sit back and watch it. Like, all right, clock's ticking. How long is this? I'm kidding. Move
No,
on.
never.
Understand why they got the job, right? And sometimes ask the recruiter, like, hey, just curious, what was it? What were the qualifications that they were looking for? Well, maybe they just interviewed better than you did, or maybe they had a master's degree and you don't, or maybe they have this kind of experience. You're like, oh, okay. If you want that job or you want a job like that, go get that experience. Start looking at master's degree programs, start doing that. Be prepared to start building yourself up, right? You are never going to be a finished product, right?
Nope.
You're not.
My wife tells me that every day. My wife tells me that every day. I'll never be a finished product.
Yeah. Cheese moment of the day. Yeah, look at the cheese face. Look at the cheese face. Yeah. But have fun.
Right.
Don't finish. Go out and get yours. Right. And useful. Right. All right. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Lowe?
Hey, as we figured out last week, knowing is half the battle, G.I. Joe, and then using that knowledge to apply it, right, is the other half, right?
Right.
So it took me a minute. I had a few people calling me on that one, like, how do you not know the second part? And I was like, they never gave it to me, right? So like I was like, my childhood.
I didn't get the rest of the training.
They never gave it to me. But I mean, I literally had like 3-4 people. How do you not know?
You were the Joe that never came home.
I never did. So
they were like, what happened to Down Low? And they're like, oh, he didn't get the rest of the training. the computer was down that week.
He only took the half.
He stood there like an idiot and just took the hit.
No one is half the battle, man. And
the little known character of Down Low.
I like it. The new G.I. Joe's coming out.
The new G.I. Joe, the resurrection of Down Low. Here's the one and only. It's one and only battle.
Hey, I only need one, baby.
Dare and Down Low. It was the only battle those two idiots were in. Hey, Down Low, what do we do now? You're like, I don't know. I didn't get the training.
No one's half the battle. That's what they always told me. I'm not sure.
That's all they told me.
That's all they told me. What about you? Any parting words?
No, I think it's it's an interesting times. There's a quote, may you live in interesting times. It actually doesn't mean good things. It's actually it's a curse, right? Because it's meant to say, you're not going to get peace. You're not going to enjoy it. Right. It's just going to be interesting times. I think in some way this is interesting times, right? And I think we're starting to get that realization. We're starting to adapt. There's one species on this planet that lives on 7 continents and lives in all extreme environments, and that's the human being. So we're adapting. We're coming through this. We will persevere. It's just a matter of how you persevere, right? How are you going to move on? So what do you need? What do you want? What makes you happy? You get one trip. You only get one trip on this ride here. There are no do-overs, there are no mulligans. So, if you want to do something, how are you going to get there? Right? Ask somebody how they got there. If you don't know, find yourself. We talked about it last week, find yourself a mentor. But be happy. Right? I love every one of you, and I want people to be happy. That's what drives me as a human being. So, go get yours, as Joel says. All right, that's all I have. If you like the content today, go ahead and hit the like button. Please subscribe, so that we can keep you up to date on content. Hit the little bell. You'll get notified when I get around to uploading and editing, in my second job of video editing. Joel and I don't make money on doing this. We really just kind of like sharing our thoughts and everything else. So this is just something fun for the two of us to do. Right. So thank you all so much for watching this episode. Hopefully it wasn't too long and dragged on, but at the end of the day, have a great day.
Right. Take care.